Good morning. It is good to see you and a joy and a blessing to be with you all. My name is Richard Maraj. I'm the senior minister here at Unity of Phoenix, and we welcome you. It's another beautiful day here in Phoenix, and a lot to celebrate today. We got something special to celebrate, and we also continue with our Songs of Life series. We're looking at the song "The Living Years" today, and the wonderful message in it. And that song is by Mike and the Mechanics. But right now, we're just so thrilled you're here. Welcome, everybody.
And my name is Jimmy Scott, Pastoral Care Minister here at Unity of Phoenix, and my joy to be here with you as well, and I personify the living years.
I love that, baby. Woo! Woo!
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
So we have one intention this morning, and that is that you experience that synergistic process of love that Maya spoke so eloquently of. That each one of us is able to experience that right here and right now in this place.
You know, right now we are going to affirm our mission. It'll appear up on the screen, and this mission is really the intention and who we want to be, the stand we want to make, and what we want to create together as a spiritual community. So let's all affirm it together now. Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within them. So everyone just take a deep breath. Expand your heart, open your mind for an amazing experience today. And now let's all rise now as we make a joyful noise and sing, "I Release." Right now, we want to recognize a very special individual who has been working here part-time in our sound booth for 20 years. In the 20 years, he has never missed one assignment, and he has been working about 48 to 49 Sundays a year. He has done an amazing and magnificent job, so I just want to welcome up Don Klossing.
Yeah, Don.
Don! All right, man, give me a hug. Yes. Woo. Yeah, baby. All right. So, Don's been working here part-time for 20 years at Unity of Phoenix. He and I actually go back a little further. In August of 1990, Don was the conference chairperson for the Toastmasters regional conference that would have the winner go to the World Championship of Public Speaking. So he was the conference chairperson, and I was in the contest, and he did a great job organizing the contest, the concert, because I won. And so I was impressed with him from the beginning. And then 10 years later, I actually guest spoke here for the very first time. It was June the 11th, 2000. And Don came up to me, and he actually remembered the exact title of my talk 10 years earlier. So again, this guy impressed me. And it was called Hands. It was a simple thing, but he remembered. I was just really impressed. But anyway, what's been even better than being impressed about those two meetings is just getting to work with him on a regular basis. I teach the prosperity class about 30 nights a year, and he and I get to work together, plus Sundays, and he does Wednesdays. The thing I love most about him is his dependability, his consistency, and his loyalty. And this guy is as thorough and follows through on everything as you could possibly imagine. So he has been a huge gift and a blessing to this ministry. And Don, just on behalf of our staff, on behalf of all of us, a little card and a little gift of appreciation, but it can never fully express how much we love you and how much we appreciate you and the difference you've made in this community. So one more time, can we hear for Don, please? Woo, woo, woo. And a couple of things I forgot. Don is a founding member, not surprisingly, of the Unity Toastmasters, which he started 20 years ago. And he's also the head of the hiking club, which he's been leading for 15 years. And he's also been writing the hiking club newsletter called Trail Mix for 15 years as well. So he is as integrated in all aspects of his ministry as you can imagine. So one more time, give it for Don. Thank you, man. You rock, baby. All right. And Don, I really love that outfit that you were wearing. That's very, very cool. I'm sorry. All right.
So that pretty much does it for our announcements. If you have your cell phones with you, I want to encourage you to either place those on silence or vibrate. And Todd will lead us in our meditational song.
I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
So I invite you to take just a moment now to allow the meaning of those words to sift into your consciousness. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. An ever so gentle reminder that wherever we are, God is. And from that foundational principle, we reach out to one another with love and with respect and with appreciation. And with amazement for the incredible reality of being created in and after the image of the creative essence from whence we came. So as we begin this meditational process this morning, I invite you to get comfortable in your seat and to take a deep, refreshing breath. And just mentally and physically let go of any tightness, any tension in the body. Allow yourself to be fully supported by the seat you're in. And then make a conscious intention to slow your mind down, to set aside all of the busyness of your life, and to be fully present to this current moment. This moment in which God is and we are. And all that that entails. This moment that the healing and transformative energy of God is flowing in and through each one of us, renewing, re-energizing, actually recreating our entire physical and mental and emotional being. Too frequently we forget the power of the moment. And we forget what we're made of and from whence we came. So right now, in the quietness of your own being, is a good time to remember who you are and what you are. One more deep breath. And then just be still. Today, as we consider the wonderful works of the universe that we live, move, and have our being in, may we be inspired, may we be motivated to be all that we were created to be. And just for the effort, we give thanks in the name and through the nature of the living Spirit of Christ. And so it is. And amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Good morning again, everyone. And a shout out and welcome to everyone who tunes in and watches us online. Welcome, everyone. So how many people here have ever had or have someone in your life that's really important to you, but you just don't see eye to eye and you have a hard time communicating with them? Anybody ever have that? So how many people here have ever wanted to share your most heartfelt, deep thoughts and your deepest feelings with someone that you love, but somehow you were afraid and felt uncomfortable to be that vulnerable with them and ended up not saying what you wanted to say? Anybody not say what they want to say to somebody they love? And how many people have ever had a relationship that you wished was better, and somehow you regret it that you just couldn't make it any better than it was or is? Anybody? And every one of us in some ways has some levels of regret in our lives. And we regret missed opportunities. We regret some things we said or did, or things we didn't say and didn't do. We regret, certain poor life choices, bad investments. I mean, there are things that we have that we regret in our lives. Kind of reminds me of this famous surgeon that had died and went to heaven, and he's at the pearly gates, And he asked and he was asked by the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper said, "Have you committed a sin that you regret?" And the doctor said, "Well, yeah, now that I think about it, yes. When I was a young doctor working at the hospital of St. Luke, I played in the hospital soccer league, and we reached the final against the team from St. Peter's Community Hospital. And I scored a goal, which was offside, but the ref didn't see it, and I didn't speak up. We were underdogs, and I really wanted to win. I really wanted to beat St. Peter's, and so I didn't say a word. And I knew it was wrong. I knew it was cheating, but I didn't speak up. And I truly regret that today, especially standing in front of you." And the gatekeeper says, he said, "Oh, there's no need to feel any regret about that. My son, don't worry about it at all. In fact, come on in. You can enter." And the gatekeeper is just patting him on his back and smiling and congratulating him. And then the doctor says, "Wow, St. Peter, thanks a lot. I didn't think you'd be as understanding as this." And then the gatekeeper said, "Hey, I'm not St. Peter. He's off on a break. I'm St. Lucas." All right. Regrets. I kind of regret I told that joke. I kind of regret I did. So we all have regrets in all kinds of ways in our lives, but I would say the regrets that we have by far that are most painful, the most difficult to deal with, is the regret of not sharing how we feel with our loved ones. Not sharing our needs, not sharing our love, not sharing our desires, not sharing our care and appreciation of them. The song "The Living Years" is a powerfully haunting song about a son's regret, about the things he wished he had said to his father, the things that he wished he had shared, the things he wished that he had expressed. And the thing that makes this song even more powerful and a little bit sadder is the fact that his father died before he could share those things. His father died before he could realize the hope and the quality of relationship that he wanted to have, to clear the air, to create some healing and a deeper bond between he and his dad. And that song was written and came out in 1988. Written by Mike Rutherford and B.A. Robertson. Mike Rutherford, if you know, was a founding member of the group Genesis as well. It's a powerful, powerful song. And here are some of the words that I find most haunting. "I wasn't there that morning when my father passed away. I didn't get to tell him all the things I had to say. I just wish I could have told him in the living years." And I think every single one of us, as you hear the song or hear the words, every one of us can empathize with the pain and the regret that young man, that person in the song is feeling, because I think every one of us at some level can relate to the fact, whether it's a parent or a child or a sibling or a spouse, that someone in our lives that we don't quite see eye to eye with, that we can't really communicate as well as we want. And there are things that we wish that we have said, wish we would have said, and wish we could have done and expressed and experienced with them. Regret is a painful thing. But I also believe that regret can be a powerful healing tool, and it can be a teaching tool to help us learn and grow and experience greater understanding and compassion. I think regret's a powerful tool if we know how to use it well to uplift us, expand us, and I think regret's an important part of our soul's journey and our spiritual work here. Everyone, I want you to think of a regret of any kind that you've had in your life. And then my question to you is, why do you feel regret? Think about it. What is the reason behind why we feel regret? And here's the reason I think. The reason we have regret is because at some level we want to be a better person than we've shown up to be. We want to live a happier life. We don't want to be someone who hurts someone or dismisses someone. We don't want to be someone that isn't living and bringing more joy and love and life into this world. To me, I think the reason we have regrets is because we aspire to something greater, something better, not only for ourselves, but for others as well. And so today I want to take this song, which seems very sad, but I think it's also a song of hope. To learn, to heal, and to be able to love in a deeper way than we have allowed ourselves to up until this point. Loving folks isn't easy. It's a tough thing. And especially when someone dies, So I think for the majority of people that die in our lives, we feel complete with them. We feel sad, we feel grief, but we understand they loved us, we love them. And, but then sometimes there are some people who go away in our lives and we feel incomplete. We feel wounded, we feel damaged, we feel broken from the relationship. And the fact that they're gone in whatever way, shape, or form it is, we feel hopeless that we will never get that opportunity to heal, to experience a sense of wholeness, from that relationship. I was reading an excerpt from the author Russell Friedman, who wrote a book called The Grief Recovery Handbook. And in it he says, with grief, three things happen. One, when there's loss, there's just grief. You're sad that you lost the person you love. But there are two other emotions that we need to work through, and that is regret for all the things that we wish could have been, and unresolved grief. Because if, let's say, a father died, and the grief of not having them be able to walk you down the aisle, to not be able to have some of the things we wanted to have. Maybe they never said, I love you, and we're never going to get to experience that. Or maybe we didn't get their approval or their affirmation. Maybe the relationship could have been more loving and caring, and there could have been a deeper connection. And sometimes grieving all those things, and when they're gone, it feels like, well, that's it. I'm incomplete, and that can never heal. With my dad, when he passed, one of the things that's I was in a place where I was still dependent. I was still struggling with myself, never thinking I could get a job, never thinking I could become anything. I was living at home at 30 still and just lost, in so many ways. And I regretted and wished my dad could have seen me have a job, to be independent and take care of myself, have a mortgage, have a life, and be successful. And we hold on to these things, thinking I'm never going to be able to be complete. One of the things I loved about reading this article that he says that we may think there's unfinished business that can't be completed, but it can, even if that person isn't alive. That we can still do the spiritual work inside to heal those things that we didn't get from those relationships that feel incomplete, and actually feel a sense of completion and a sense of wholeness. That regret and unresolved grief is actually a call to each of us to go a little deeper into our own healing. That we can give ourselves the love and the acceptance and the approval that we didn't get from our parents, that we can, the Bible says, honor your mother and father. Well, we can honor the spirit of their love and love ourselves and support ourselves in ways that they may not have been able to. It took me years to realize I wasn't looking for my dad's approval. I was looking for my own. That I didn't think I was a man. I didn't think I could succeed. I didn't think that I could live a dependent life. I was looking for my own healing, not my father's. We think it's about them, but it's actually about our own healing. And it's an important process for us to be able to go to that place and heal. Anybody ever do a therapy thing where your therapist said, write a letter to that person and tell them how you feel? Anybody ever have that? That it may seem silly, but it's one of the most powerful things. Acknowledging what hurt, what got missed, what you needed, how angry you are, all of that stuff really begins to help release and cleanse that regret and grief and sadness, and then gets you to a place where you'll realize, I need to give myself that love. Here's what it says in 2 Corinthians. Godly grief produces a repentance that leads to salvation without regret, whereas worldly grief produces death. And here's what I think that means, that godly grief, that when you take your regret to spirit, with an intention, repent means to rethink, with an intention, a spiritual intention for healing, an intention for love, an intention to feel God's presence and a sense of wholeness, that is godly grief, of working through that inner process, that it will help you repent and create salvation, a sense of wholeness. But if you just have regret, where you hate and have an ongoing relationship of hating and never wanting to resolve it, but just continue in the hate and the story, that will lead to death or stagnation and have you be stuck where you are. Is that making sense, everyone? Is that we can be healed from these things, but we have to be proactive in it. And I love James 1:4. It says, let endurance or perseverance finish its work in you, so that you will know that you are whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. See, sometimes we think we're not complete because of that relationship and we could never be. That's not true. With God, guess what? You are whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. And sometimes we have to do that grief work, that process work, to cleanse it, to release that pain, to release the regret and the grief, to open a space to know the truth of our wholeness right here and now. And so everybody, I want you to think of some little regret right now that you've got, or a big regret about a relationship. And a simple prayer like this would be so powerful. God, help me heal what needs to be healed. Help me release whatever regret and grief I'm holding on to so that I can know that I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. Let's say that together. I am whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. That is the truth. You don't need that individual in your life to complete the work and the unfinished business and to create a sense of wholeness and healing in your heart. So I ask you, from some past relationship that didn't go, where you didn't see eye to eye, what in you needs to be healed? What in you needs to let go? And what in you needs to shift and change? And are you willing to do the work and write down and express all those feelings? I've done this myself several times. One of the most powerful and liberating things to do is to get those feelings and thoughts expressed. Just get them out. And it just creates an opening for peace and healing. Because are you willing to do the godly grief to help you get to the place where you know that you're whole, complete, and lacking in nothing? One of the first things I think that regret and unresolved grief does, it makes you realize that the healing's about me. And I need to do that healing. And I need to give myself that love and approval and support to connect with my wholeness. Make sense, everybody? Okay. If it doesn't, still nod, because that's all I got. That's all I got. That's it. It's right there. So one of the things, I grew up in a family where it was sort of this unspoken thing that love meant always getting along and always agreeing, never disagreeing, that love was everybody eating the same thing, liking the same thing, just being that way of the same thing. And it was almost not loving in our home at some level to disagree, to oppose. And so I think, anybody grow in a house like that, or was it just my house was like that? Okay. And then things that were different or someone didn't disagree with or didn't like, somehow that was not loving. And we start to shun and build a wall. Like, anybody got like a black sheep in your family? Or maybe you might be the black sheep. Or the redheaded stepchild, or, the weird uncle, someone who's a little bit out there. Those people sometimes, we don't like them as much because culturally, we have this unconscious belief that love means you make me feel good. You do what I want and I'll love you. And you make me feel really good, I'll love you some more. But if you don't, the wall goes up, the heart shuts down. And one of the things I think this song is saying is, and I love that line, it says, you say you just don't see it. He says it makes perfect sense. You just can't find agreement in this present tense. We all talk a different language, talking in defense. And one of the things I've learned about life is everyone is different. There are different opinions and different ideas, and sometimes we lock in that if you don't agree with me, I'm not going to love you. Sometimes we're not able to, and I love the line when it says, you can listen as well as you hear. Because sometimes we don't listen so well. And what he's saying is you can open your heart to be more accepting of those differences, even if you don't see eye to eye, and still have your heart be big enough to love that person just the way they are. One of the things is, because we have this thing about you got to be this way and have people like you to feel a sense of love, many of us end up putting on masks and being how we think people think we should be. We're afraid to share our own opinions, our feelings, our needs, our thoughts and desires because we don't want to offend anybody or be rejected or be ridiculed for who we are. So many of us pretend to be who we are. We're not really being authentic with the people in our lives because we think they're not going to accept us. Do we think that they might reject us? Anybody see that interview with Bruce Jenner on Friday night? Think about that. This guy was as macho as you could get. I mean, winning the Olympic gold decathlon, 10 events. This guy was the greatest athlete in the world. And it took him till he was 65 years old to say, this is who I am. Because culturally, that would have been shame and embarrassment and rejection for someone at that level to say, I think I was born a different gender than I am. Many of us are holding back and wearing masks and not sharing the truth of who we are because we're afraid that we will be rejected. You know, the fact is, it's important for us to connect with the truth of who we are and be able to share it and to feel safe and supported, but we also have to create that space for all the people in our lives that we don't see eye to eye with. When Jesus said, love one another, he didn't say love one another if they do what you like. He said, love one another. And so is there someone you've left outside your heart because you're not seeing eye to eye with them? And can you open a space to love them and accept them just the way they are? Think about that, a relationship that isn't going as well as you'd like, that you may not see eye to eye with them, and I ask you the question. If they don't change one bit for the rest of your life, can you open a space in your heart to be more loving and accepting than you are to them right at this moment? And can you find that level of peace and love in your heart? And Jesus said to love one another fully and wholly just the way we are. Anybody see the movie The Imitation Game? Anybody see that movie? By this guy, Alan Turing. He was a little dorky and socially awkward, but genius mathematician. He was given an assignment to try and decode the German messages during the war, and he was stubborn as heck, and people didn't like him because he was just socially awkward. And and he ended up, solving the thing after a long period of time and asking for lots of money. And, he wasn't really hugely liked, but he was able to help, end the war quicker, save lots of lives. At the end, he was gay, and they found that out, and they kicked him out. And at the end, he's lamenting who he was, wishing he wasn't who he was, how he was, wishing he was different. And then his best friend says, I just got off a train in a town that wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for you. There are so many people who are alive because of you. This world is a greater place because of you being just the way you are. And I just thought that was such a beautiful and wonderful thing. I thought it was an interesting thing that Diane Sawyer interviewed Bruce Jenner, because she said one of the greatest quotes I ever heard, or one of the things I really love. She said the greatest gift that she had ever been given and the greatest experience of love she had was from her grade 4 teacher. And someone said, so what was the gift? And she said, she gave me her undivided attention. And she made me feel safe. One of the things I love about praying with my prayer partner, one of my favorite things, is that no matter where I am, how goofy, how irrational, how silly I am, she loves me right there. Never tries to fix me, change me, heal me, give me advice. It's just loving. And so for that person that's in your life that you might have a hard time, could you get to a place where you could just listen to them, give them your undivided attention, and just love them right where they are, exactly the way they are? And maybe the way they are is exactly the way God wanted them to be, to help you and I expand into a greater level of love and compassion. Maybe they're exactly the way they're supposed to be. In fact, not maybe. They are the way they're supposed to be. And they're there to help us expand our heart into a greater experience of love. Regret and unresolved grief helps us go into a level of healing for ourselves, but it helps us to learn how to open our hearts to acceptance and greater compassion for those who are different. God made different, not better or worse, just different. But can you accept the different ways that people show up and love them anyway? That's our spiritual work, to love one another with all of our hearts. And the final thing about it is that it tells us, this song tells you to keep on loving. Here's what he says. So don't yield to the fortunes you sometimes see as fate. It may have a new perspective on a different date. And if you don't give up and don't give in, you may just be okay. One of the things I've learned is that different people require different ways of loving and showing them our affection. Some people like words, some people like touch, some people like all kinds of different things. I have a friend who had a mom. She wasn't close to her mom her whole life. Her mom was not very nurturing or warm, never said I love you. And then, when she was in her 50s, she thought, you know what, I'm going to get that lady to say I love you. So for 7 years, every time she talked to her mom, she ended with, I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom, for 7 years. Finally, after 7 years, she said, I love you, Mom. And her mom, after 7 years, said, I love you too, honey. 2 years after that, 9 years later, her mom actually said, I love you first. And there was such a healing in that relationship late in the life that this person ended up moving from out of state to be with this daughter, and she died 3 months later. But the healing of a lifetime of disconnect was done by just opening her heart, and all she did was say, I love you, Mom. But sometimes it's hard for us to say words. I remember my dad, he was dying. He had chronic heart failure, chronic obstructive lung disease, and diabetes, and they didn't give him much longer to live. And it was Christmas, and he was on oxygen and a lot of pain, didn't have a lot of energy. And he would rarely ever come out of his room or rarely come out for dinner. And I remember this one day in Christmas, he came out, and for all my nieces and nephews, they were all tiny little things. And then my dad, he didn't have a lot of energy. He took off his mask, and he came out, he put on a Santa hat, looking all old and frail, but loving those kids up big time, kissing them, taking photos with them. And he just put out as much energy as he could possibly do, and then he went back and just slumped back in his bed. And I didn't know what to get my dad. He was a tough guy to shop for. And I really know I wanted to say some things to him, but I could never see me look him in the eyes and saying the things I wanted to say. So I chickened out, and I wrote him a note. I wrote him a nice little card. And I said, Dad, you know, when you came out for your grandkids and showed up, and I know you're in pain, I know you're in discomfort, I know you don't feel good, but that you put them ahead of yourself and mustered up the energy to play with them and love them up like that. I said, I was so proud that you're my dad, and I feel so honored to be your son. And I said, I may not have shown it or said it over the years, but I love you more than I can say, and I'm so glad I get to be your son. And so I put the card, and I, licked it and closed it, and I went into my dad's room and put it in a place I knew he'd see, and then I slithered out of there. And then like an hour or so later, my mom called us all for dinner, and then so I go there, and I'm in the dining room, and I see my dad just coming out of his bedroom, and he's holding the card, and he starts walking towards me, and I'm thinking, oh, Lord. And it's silly how we can get scared about things. It's silly. And he walks to me, and he hugs me, and I feel his body just melt and soften into mine, and he starts to weep out loud. I never heard my father cry like that. But the love that I felt and the bond and connection I felt like that was one of the greatest things. My father died 3 weeks later, but I'll tell you, that was one of the most precious gifts. Sometimes it's amazing how sometimes we have a hard time looking into someone's eye and say, I love you so much. And I got scared. I couldn't do that. I felt afraid to be vulnerable that way. But I felt safe enough to write a little note. And the point I'm trying to make is, whether you write a note or you say it or you do it with a gift or flowers, or a card, or with laughter, or with food, find some different ways. And like it says, and if you don't give up and don't give in, you may just be okay. If you've been loving the same way, doing the same thing, and running to a brick wall, find a different way to love. Show a different way to express it. I love what it says in the Ziggy comic strip. It says, just remember, if things look hopeless, maybe you're facing in the wrong direction. And what that means is, maybe if you're doing it this way, try a different way. Try a gift. Try and go and do an activity together. Try and love in different ways, because we're different people. Different things touch us. But if you keep doing it, I guarantee you, some of it will eventually get through. Last thing I want to say is, sometimes we think because that person has died, is gone, and that's the end of it, and it isn't. It's never the end of it. Because nothing is lost in spirit, and love can never be lost. I love in the song how it says, I thought I heard my Father's Spirit in my baby's newborn tears. And to me, there's a sign and a truth in there, is that just because it seems that love was ended with that one person, God will always give you another avenue to express love. What we see as lost and hopeless is only change, and inviting us to a new form and a new way of expressing and experiencing love. It's no coincidence that his son was born. Same with when my dad died, my brother's son was born just a few weeks later. God always gives us new opportunities to live and love and learn. It's never over when we think it is, because God's never running out of love. We're never running out of life and joy and goodness. God always gives us an opportunity to renew. That's why I love when it says in the book of Joel, and I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten. And you shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and you shall praise the name of Jehovah your God, who has dealt with you so wondrously. That just because the relationship ends doesn't mean that then God will give you a new way to love, and a new way to share your joy, a new way to feel a deeper level of connection. Wouldn't it be nice if we could all live with no regrets? Wouldn't it be nice if we were so good we would know the right words to say that would make people happy all the time? We know the right decisions, the right actions, and we would live a perfect life without regret. Wouldn't that be nice? But that's not going to happen. So, the fact is, Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone who says things that are not as thoughtful and caring. Every one of us, forgets to not say things, that we wish we would. But it's incumbent upon us to use the regret, to use the unresolved grief in our lives to help heal ourselves, to help learn how to expand in love, and to keep loving, keep loving, keep loving. Leo Pascal used to teach a class called Love 101, and he used to tell people, love, go out there, love with your smile, love with your hug, just go and love. Because he said if you miss love, you miss life. The Living Years is a song of hope that's saying don't let the regrets and the mistakes of the past stop you from living and loving right here and now. Don't let the regrets stop you. Use them to heal, to learn, to expand, and to express more love right now in the living years. God bless you all. And now my favorite time, the kids are coming in. Let's sing them in with We Are Walking in the Light.
We are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. In the light, in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking in the joy, in the joy, in the joy. We are walking in the joy of God. In the joy, 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 in the joy of God. We are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
Let's welcome in our kids. Great to see you all here. All right, so Reverend Tina.
Yes, well, we've had a great morning this morning. Look at all these kids, all these youth. It's been a wonderful day. We've studied about connecting with God, the Good Samaritan, and following our guidance. So we've had some really great classes today.
Cool. Anybody want to share? You got an affirmation?
Anybody want to share today?
Okay, that's all right. But let's wave at our moms. We'll wave at our moms and dads. Let's do that. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. Hey, guys. All right. Well, we love that you guys are in here. We love seeing you. We love hearing about the great things you guys are learning. So you guys ready for a blessing? Because it's coming at you. Here we go together, everybody. You are a perfect child of God, and God and I love you just the way you are. Amen. Let's hear for our kids. Thank you guys for being here, for blessing us. So you guys want to help us start the prayer of protection? Let's follow our kids' lead. Okay, we got a couple of hands right there. Yeah, right there. All right, kiddos. Whenever you're ready, go ahead. Amen. Let's hear it for our kids. Thank you guys for being here. Have a great Sunday. Have a great week. Everyone, let's all rise now as we sing our song of peace. bless you, everybody. Have a great day and a wonderful week.